welcome to our Careers Now live stream event. I'm Nicole Gallace and we're joined today by Lenny. He will introduce himself in a little while, but before we get into the nuts and bolts of this webinar today, which is with Lenny as our career coach, I wanted to just give a little bit of a background and introduction. So I'm Nicole Gallace. I've been a recruiter in the industry for over 10 years. And the past 2 years with DeLacy Executive Recruitment, supporting organizations in food and beverage processing. I also lead our FoodGrads team that is dedicated to supporting students and graduates join the food and beverage industry. FoodGrads is a program partner of CareersNOW. And before I dive into the program elements, I'm going to share a deck with you, a few slides just to talk about the industry and kind of lead us into our session with Lenny. So thank you so much for joining again. And we can go to the next slide. That's more of an intro. So great. So the industry, what can I say? It's an amazing place to carve out a career. But a few pieces that I wanted to bring to your attention is it is Ontario's #1 manufacturing sector. It even outperforms the auto sector, but is perhaps the most best kept secret in terms of opportunity, certainly with regards to career opportunities. There's about 13,000 employers across Canada, the bulk of which are located in Ontario. And, you know, there's so many opportunities right now due to the fact that there's 25,000 workforce gap, people gap, and that's due to even before the pandemic there was a gap, and then the pandemic amplified that, and now we're facing a lot of people retiring. So in terms of opportunity, a lot of opportunity with regards to the different types of employers across 11 subsectors, but also a lot of demand for people to enter into these roles. These are the elements of the Careers Now program. So Careers Now is Food and Beverage Ontario's workforce development initiative. It's really a program to combat a lot of these issues that I just mentioned with regards to workforce planning and attracting people to the industry. So I won't really focus on the employer side, but on the left-hand side, you'll see all the resources and elements that are available to job seekers and students. So first of all, we have our Job Ready Skills training. That's through Food Processing Skills Canada. So industry-specific training. We have 14 courses that are available for free to students and grads and job seekers. They range from good manufacturing practices and allergens, sanitation, to oral communication and transferable skills. You get a certificate after you complete each of these courses. And as I said, they are free. They're an amazing thing to add to your resume if you don't have industry-specific relevant work experience and you're looking to get into the industry. I would definitely recommend you do one or all 14 of these courses. Obviously, the next one here, number 2, is our career advancement coach, and that is what we're going to be moving on to shortly. And the last thing I just want to bring your attention to is the virtual job fairs. These are free virtual job fairs for you to attend. We have some amazing leading employers, Coke Canada, Give and Go Prepared Foods, Embassy Ingredients, Sargent Farms, just to name a few, will be joining us. And the next one is November 14th. So please feel free to come along to that from 11 till 3. Going back to Careers Now, we just launched our brand new website. It has a huge amount of resources and information available. So please go to www.careersnow.ca to create your job seeker profile. I cannot stress that enough. Create your profile to access all these wonderful resources. There is the Discover Your Careers section, and FoodGrads is really proud to have been so involved with providing a lot of the content and information around this. So if we go to the next slide, I'll kind of point you in the direction of some of those resources. So as I mentioned, there is a lot of opportunity in the food and beverage industry with regards to careers. You can explore careers across all the different departments within a food and beverage organization. And then we do a deeper dive into, what skill sets you need, what education you might need, and really what that person does every day in those positions. So I certainly encourage you to take a look. These are available. There's information on the CareersNOW site, but also on the FoodGrads site. And as I mentioned there, we do a deep dive into 120 plus career paths. And we also have our ebooks, which are very cool interactive books where you learn about the career path, you learn of the schools that you can look at, the colleges and universities where you can get the education and skill development in order to be a good candidate for these types of roles and to start your career. As I mentioned, there's an abundance of career opportunities from R&D, sales, definitely skilled trades is a huge gap right now in operations. Due to innovation and technology, there's never been a more exciting time to join this industry. I could have recruited in any industry, and I chose this industry because of the people. So I can't stress enough how much I would encourage you to have a look. The next slide really kind of points out a little bit more in terms of the resources that we have available. We're so proud of our FoodGrads podcast. Our host, Veronica Hislop, is a current PhD food science student and really digs into the different professions that are available. I think we're up to around 80 episodes. And the next slide kind of showcases some of the guests that we've had on. So anywhere you listen to your podcast, you can find the FoodGrads podcast. And we definitely, encourage you to have a listen to the stories of the people that are actually in the industry. I believe we are now going to move on to the main show. So I'm going to hand things over to Lenny, who is going to talk about the manufacturing industry, selecting companies to apply to, research, resumes and cover letters, interview preparation, the 3 C's, which she's keeping a big secret, so I'm excited to hear what these are, and obviously Q&A, which you can ask your questions throughout. We're not overly formal in that respect. If there's something you really want to know, whilst Lenny is speaking, I can sort of put my hand up, wave to him, because I'll sit on the side and would be happy to answer any questions you might have. So thank you, and over to you, Lenny.
Thank you, Nicole. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. Nice and chilly. It looks good out there, just the way we like it. Winter is my favorite time of year because I'm a hockey player and I love winter. That means I get to play hockey all year. Thanks for being here. Welcome to CareersNOW. Welcome to your journey heading into manufacturing in the food and beverage industry in Ontario. It's an exciting industry. You just heard a bunch of numbers that are real. There's an awful lot of people in this industry. If we take into consideration manufacturing in Canada, there are over 2 million people that work in manufacturing out of a 40 million amount of people country, right? There's 40 million people that live here. 2 million of those are in manufacturing in one way or another, whether that's food and beverage or anything that you see around you, because everything that you see currently in any room that you're in has been manufactured somewhere, and it takes people to do it. People like you. So we're going to talk a little bit about manufacturing. Manufacturing is heading out of its fourth and into its fifth different kind of iteration. It started, of course, a couple hundred years ago when we first designed, or the Industrial Revolution happened. Right now, we're in the middle of what's called Industry 4.0. So now we're getting machines to talk to computers to give us data to help make decisions. Manufacturing is moving even further now into automation, but not just automation, it's moving into operator-assisted automation. We still need people. People are required to run the machinery to make sure that the upkeep is right. Nicole brought up a great segue earlier about skilled trades. Skilled trades are in such high demand right now. It doesn't matter what industry it is. But in the food and beverage industry that we're talking about today, there's an awful lot of machinery that needs an awful lot of maintenance. And skilled trades is really a big thing right now. So if you haven't had a look at any of the skilled trades, I highly suggest you do. So I kind of jumped into that, and I didn't even give an introduction to myself. This is me being new on TV. So my name is Lenny Zappia. It says Leonard, but I go by Lenny. Everybody calls me Lenny. I've been in manufacturing basically since the age of 5 when I started working for my father at his restaurant. Little did I know that I was learning lean manufacturing principles at the age of 5. I was doing stuff that my dad didn't have to do so he could concentrate on making pizzas. Later on, of course, professionally, I became a production supervisor with a world-renowned dispensing company called Sure Shot Dispensing. You may have seen them if you go to Tim Hortons or McDonald's. They press a button, the milk comes out. Well, that's made here in Nova Scotia, which is pretty cool. So, and from there, I went on to be an operations manager before I became an advancement coach. I've been working with a company, and we did a program called Aspire Atlantic before I joined with FBO, and we were doing just that, helping folks get into careers that they could advance through. And right now, there's no more exciting industry than Food and Beverage Ontario in regards to people who can advance through an industry. You have to think about it. The numbers you gave earlier, there's an awful big piece of pie right now that's available for employees as it comes to getting into manufacturing. And as we also saw, it's multifaceted. There's all kinds of different departments that are there. Every department has a hierarchy that you're going to be able to go through to get from where you come into a company to moving up the ladder. Also, within the same company, there's always abilities to jump departments and go from one to another. Now, remember, we're building stuff, we're manufacturing stuff, we're delivering it, we're moving it, we're selling it, we're marketing it. There's just everything that you could possibly do is involved in manufacturing and involved in Food and Beverage Ontario as well. So, sorry, I lost my little eraser. Oh, there it is. So I use this great big whiteboard like this, and don't expect beautiful geometry or great handwriting. Kind of not who I am. I'm a bit of a laborer, so I typically just like to draw stuff because it's easier for me to understand, and hopefully it's working for you. But please let me know either way. Selecting companies to apply to. There's a couple things that you're going to want to think of. Number one is geography. Where are you? Where are they? Are they in an area that's not going to take you 4 hours to get to? Okay, so geography is important. Yes, you want to be able to get to where you have to go, and you don't want to have to spend 2.5 hours or 4 hours to get there. So you have to look at the geography. Number two, history. What's the history of the company? Got to get in there and have a look. Have they been around for a long time? Have they been around for a short time? Do they start as a mom and pop? Are they a family-oriented business? Are they a big corporation? You know, everybody fits somewhere different. So you need to have a look at the history before you just start deciding on what company you want to work for. Values. Most companies show their mission statement and values on their website now. Do you align with those values? Are those values that are important to you, that are important to the company that you might decide on? You have to remember that you want to be aligned with the company that you want to typically apply for jobs, because you want to be able to go in and be on the same page as them coming into the room. So have a look at their mission statement, have a look at their values. It's important. Companies know it's important. So now they're showing everybody. So have a look. Okay, so geography, history, values, and like. Do you like their products? Do you like what they're doing? That's important too, because somebody who doesn't like a product that somebody makes is not going to put a whole lot of pride in the product. Does that make sense? I can't see as I'm going to think you're going to say yes. So being able to like the product is an important thing, because you're going to want to be able to go in there, and if you like the product and you enjoy the product, maybe you use it yourself, you're going to have more pride in what you do, which is going to help you, once again, looking at our circle that's in the background, move up throughout the company. All right. Any questions so far, Nicole? Not so much? Okay.
Sorry, I was just writing in the chat. I was going to say, nope.
Okay, perfect.
Keep going.
Yeah. Gonna keep going. Okay, so now we've selected a company and we've done a little bit of research, but now we really got to dive deep into the research a little bit. Let's really find out as much as we can about this company. Now, of course, the wonderful thing about the internet, and maybe the bad thing too, there's all kinds of information out there. So you got to be kind of picky and choosy about what you tend to believe and what you tend to don't. So at the end of the day, research is incredibly important. Now, when I say research, I don't just mean research that company, but research the positions. So if you have a look and decide that you want to say, hey, listen, I really like this position of logistics coordinator. Okay, well, logistics coordinator. And believe me, there are tons of logistic jobs within food and beverage, tons. So if we look at logistics coordinator and we want to do the research on that, well, one, we got to find out how big that department actually is. Let's have a look at how big their company, how many people work there. That's information that's easily available. It's pretty easy to Google that kind of stuff. Logistic coordinator. So what type of position is it? How much does it pay? Right? Because essentially, we got to work to make dollars. So we want to have a look. What's the pay structure? What's the average of the pay structure in Canada? Have a look at that and see how this whatever company that you're researching, their position, how does it align with this in the average of Canada, right? These types of research things are going to help you decide on whether this is a company that you really want to apply to or not, right? So at the end of the day, research is extremely important. So we're researching positions. We're researching, again, as I mentioned earlier, their history, but what's their growth? Is the company growing? Is it gaining steam? Is it buying other companies? Is it amalgamating other products? Is it opening new facilities across the country here and there? It's very important to have a look and see what their trajectory has been to know whether this is a company that you're going to be able to go in and grow with. Okay? So research is important. Researching the positions, researching the dollars, researching how that affects against Canada, and researching the company itself to see where they're going and where their trajectory is going. All right. I love having a blackboard in my house. Resume and cover letters, pardon me. Resumes and cover letters are extremely important. I have read, I don't know, about 1,500 resumes in my lifetime. Here's one thing that I don't want to see. 3 to 4 pages. Every time that I got a resume that's 3 to 4 pages long, I throw it. I basically don't read it. It's too much to read. I don't have that kind of time. It has to be something quick. Sorry, something just came up in the chat. I'm going to see if I can find it. Show chat. It won't show chat. I'm in full screen.
I got you. Yeah, I got you covered. There's no questions yet. I was just adding that people are able to book a 30-minute session with you one-on-one, because this is really good stuff, but sometimes people are shy to ask questions. So
that's fine. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. So resume and cover letters. Whenever I saw a resume that was 3 or 4 pages long, it went to the bottom of the pile. I want my resume to be clear, concise, have all the information without me having to read a novel. Okay. If you really want to put in a message, that's where the cover letter comes in. The cover letter is that part where you get to have a conversation on paper with the employer. And that's what it's got to be. It's got to be a conversation. And when we talk about interviews here in a minute, we're going to talk more about that. So your resume needs to be clear, needs to be crisp. It can't be too wordy. It has to be to the point, exactly your experience, what your education is, any certification, references available upon request. Folks are going to ask you if they want references. If you're going to move on to the interview stage or the second or the third, and that can often happen. A lot of places now have 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 levels of interviews before they actually hire. They're going to ask you for those references as you go along. So we don't want to throw them on there. We'll just say upon request. That's perfectly fine. The point I'm trying to make is myself as a hiring manager, I'm going to have a stack of resumes come saw like this, right? So This one's 4 pages. Okay, I'll put it here. This one's a page and a half. That's it. That's the information I'm going to take from it. Not that I don't think that it's not worth the read, but this is how much time I have in the run of my day. I still have a lot of work to do, and I have to interview 40 people. I'm being the hiring manager kind of perspective right now. So we want to build it so that something flashes, our name, it's good, it's crisp, everything is there, but it's concise. Sound good? Now, cover letters. Cover letters are your opportunity to kind of tell your story briefly. It's still a précis. It's still something small. Again, you don't want 2.5 pages. Half a page, usually about good. Any more than that, then it becomes a long read. And once again, the hiring manager doesn't have time to read 2 pages from 100 resumes of cover letters. So we want to keep it short. We want to keep it concise. We want to keep it applicable to our experience and how it will relate to the position that you're going for. So if you're going for a logistics coordinator position, you can talk about the data entry you've done. You can talk about data processing that you might have done. Your work in ERPs, enterprise systems. Your work in a warehouse, whether you're moving materials as a material handler. All those things lend themselves to the position of logistics coordinator because you've basically touched every part of the process. So when you're building those and you're telling the story about you from a working perspective, you have to give them the ideas of who you are and what you've done and how it relates to the position that you're going after. This is what's going to attract a hiring manager to give you a call and say, hey, can you take an interview? Right? Hopefully that makes sense. So cover letters are important, but again, a cover letter on a page should be up there. That's it. We do not want to make it big, wordy. You want to get to the point, talk about quick experience, how it relates to the project, and looking forward to hearing from you in regards to an interview. These are the sentiments we want to get across. Who we are, what we've done, how it'll work for you. Looking forward to hearing from you. Those 4 elements. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So quickly moving on, and then we'll get into some questions after. Amy Prue asks, where are you finding reliable salary data? The government of Canada typically has the most up-to-date salaries for every single possible position in the country. They have that run through census forms that are done by businesses, and you can look at that, just gov.ca, and then you got to kind of filter through and go through exactly. If I had a secondary screen, I could bring something like that up. Maybe I'll ask my good friend Dyson to have a peek. But the government agencies, they show all of that. Even Revenue Canada has some material and data on that kind of stuff. Hope that answered your question.
I can add 2 seconds as well before you move on. That through our organization, we also offer a compensation benchmark review for employers to complete, to participate in. So companies provide data, and then you have access to other companies' data. So if there's any employers out there listening today that are interested to participate in that, when I say our company, that's not exactly through CareersNOW, that would be through the FoodGrads organization that I just mentioned, but I'd be happy to point you in that direction to get reliable salary data. So thanks, Lenny. Keep going.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Perfect. Where was I? Interview prep work. We just did resume cover letters. Okay, so the resume and cover letter have gone in. You've gotten a phone call or an email, most likely an email in this day and age. Nobody calls anybody anymore. Sorry, pet peeve. So now we got to say, okay, we got to get ready for this interview. Interviews can be daunting. I understand that, especially when you meet somebody like me with a great big voice and saying, hey, what have you done in your lifetime for your work? I can understand how that can be daunting. At the end of the day, businesses need people. They need good people. And when we prep for an interview, we're going to prep ourselves and get ourselves ready to have a conversation. That is the most important key to every single interview I've ever done. Every person I've ever hired was able to have a conversation with me standing on their feet right there in the office, having the interview, able to have a conversation. Now you're saying to yourself, what's this guy talking about? Conversation. They're going to be asking point blank questions and they're going to look for point blank answers and they're going to want to hear. Yes, they do want to hear that, but they want to be able to hear it in a conversational tone. Hey, what'd you do for the last time I was at work? I was in the warehouse and monotonal. That's not going to fly. It's not going to cut it with these folks. You need to have a conversation. You need to be able to get to a base level. You need to be able to look folks in the eye, have a conversation, and explain how you are going to fit in the job and how you are going to fit within their culture. This is very, very important. At one time, we used to have what was called HR. Now, some companies still call it HR, but I just turned purple. Why did that happen? That was funny.
You did.
Let's see if I stop this and start it again, if it'll change. Nope. Anyway, okay, I'm purple now. Again, be able to think on your feet, because the questions that are coming at you are going to be like somebody just turned purple. They're going to ask you a question that you may not have an answer to, but you're going to have to be able to think on your feet to be able to answer it. Again, this goes back to having a conversation. You know, this might be kind of saying a little bit too far to the left here, but it's almost like sitting down at a bar having a conversation with somebody. You have a nice cold pop in front of you and you're talking about whatever it is that you're talking about, but you're on a personal level. And this is what you got to do when you get into an interview. You do not want to go in as a robot. You do not want to go in with all pre-scripted answers. You want to be able to have the conversation. Now, the answers aren't pre-scripted, but the answers have been looked at. So what's the first question? I suppose with this type of a format, we may not be able to do that. But one of the first questions that somebody's going to ask you is, I can't read all that because I can't read that fast. But what they're going to ask you is, thanks for coming in. What do you know about our company? Now, this goes back to the research. We already did the research on the company because we decided to apply to their position. So once we get that invitation for an interview, now the research begins again. We have to go back in. We got to find out everything about this company. What do they sell? What do they make? How much of it? Whatever we can find, whether that's on their website, going through Government of Canada, find out what their annual what their annual income is as a company. This information again is fairly readily available, and you should be able to look that up. So we want to make sure that when we get in there, although we're not scripted with our answers, there are some answers we're sort of ready for. What do you know about our company, right? How are you with shift work? They're going to ask you that. A lot of manufacturers, whether it's in food and beverage or anything else, can run up to 21 shifts a week because there's 21 shifts available in the week, 7 days, 3 shifts a day, 21 shifts. So they could run perhaps 10 shifts in the run of a week, where they have a day shift and a night shift. They could run 24/7. So they have 3 different shifts, a day shift, an evening shift, and an overnight shift. You're going to want to be able to have answers for that, right? So that's the first thing they're going to ask you. What do you know about us? Tell me a little bit about you. Now, this isn't the part where you come out and say, I have all this education and go into a long-winded, I'm, either new to Canada or I've been here my whole life, or I've just moved to the area. I'm looking for a company that I can grow with, and I'm looking for a chance at a career. That type of a small answer is enough. One of the things you're going to really want to avoid is getting into an answer that lasts a long time. Sometimes a company may ask you to elaborate on an answer. That's your opportunity to jump in with a story or an anecdotal piece from your previous work history that'll relate to the position you're applying to. Other times, we don't want to get in too long-winded answers because then they forget what it is that they asked and because you've moved on to a different tangent. Answer the question specifically, and then I would offer that you say, and if you'd like to hear more, I can tell you. That allows them the opportunity to move on or to say, yes, actually, please elaborate on that a little bit, giving you the opportunity to come out with your anecdotal piece of whatever the question is that they asked. The point is we don't want to make our answers way too long. We want to keep them concise, precise, because you got to remember, you're one of 9 people being interviewed on that day. So they want to be remembering the person that gave them the opportunity to get through their questionnaire that they wanted to ask in a timely fashion and also gain the answers that they wanted. Those are the people they're going to remember. The one that ends up taking 10 minutes on an answer for one question is not going to get an opportunity to hear the other questions. They're not going to get the responses they need, so that person doesn't get a chance. Hope that made sense. Interview prep work. So that's that. Conversation. It's all about conversation. Now, let's talk about the 3 C's of an interview. This is one of my favorite things. I think I might patent this. I haven't decided yet. The first thing of the 3 C's, we'll put the 3 C's here like that. The first is courteousness. You need to be courteous in your interview. Courteousness is not just hello, thank you, please. It's also reading body language to know when it is that you can actually jump into the conversation. Never interrupting an interviewer when they're talking. They're going to potentially not do the same thing, but that's not on you. On you is to be completely courteous as it comes to the conversation that you're having. Be prepared for the answer and pause before you do. So let's do a little example. Hey, Lenny, can you tell us what you know about the company? Well, from what I've read, right there, I had a tiny little half a second dramatic pause, making sure that the interviewer had completed their question and now are waiting for my response. That half a second allows also time for the interviewer to maybe jump in and say something else they may want to. Or if they don't, that gives you your platform to start giving the answer. So courteousness is huge. It's very, very big. People are looking for it. In manufacturing, as in anywhere else, courteousness is something that people want in their society and people want in their facilities. I spoke a second ago about HR. I got sidetracked there. HR has now changed to people and culture. We talk about people, we talk about culture. We don't talk about human as resources anymore. We talk about people and we talk about how they get along within the facility. Sound good? The second C, curiosity. Companies are going to want to see, and I'm still so sorry that I'm purple. I don't know why that happened. Companies are going to want to see that you've done your research. Not only that, but they're going to be looking for questions from you. Questions like, what's the growth been like in the last 5 years with this company? Being curious about the products. How long has this product been on the market? How many more products do you have coming to market? They want to know that you're curious of what's going on. Being courteous, being curious is very, very important. Having the ability to ask and say, listen, I really need to know what type of company you got going here. Obviously not quite in those terms, but are you progressing? Are you moving forward? Do you have an R&D department, for instance? That's a great question. Do you have any questions for us? Yes. Do you have an R&D department that's creating new products to go to market? And absolutely, they'll be happy to answer, especially when it's a good question that revolves around their business that they get excited about. R&D is certainly one of them. Moving new products in is certainly another. So that type of curiosity is extremely important. So courteousness, curiosity. The last C is confidence. You need to be confident going into your interview. And confidence is not just something that you can go, to the local store and buy some. Hey, I think I'll buy some confidence and chuck it in me. Confidence takes some time, takes some practice. Now, one of the things that I've done in previous lives, going into interviews myself, is I practice some of those things in front of a mirror. Like even right now, as I'm giving this broadcast to you, I'm looking basically right at myself and I'm telling myself what it is that I want to say. These types of practices are going to help you gain confidence when you get into the interview. If you're quiet as a mouse and sitting back and not really saying too much and kind of nodding, and that doesn't exude confidence. You don't have to be overpowering in your voice like this guy. That's also overconfidence or a different word I could use there. But you want to be able to have good body posture. You want to be confident in the answers that you give. And you want to be able to look this person in the eye without a whole lot of fidgeting as much as possible, right? This is important. They know that you are confident in you. They can hear that in your answers. They can hear that in how you answer. We have to remember that a lot of these folks that are in people and culture that are giving the interviews before you get to meet the actual hiring manager, because there's typically a couple of levels before you get to the people that are actually doing the hiring. They're the ones that have taken courses. They understand body language. They understand how to read into answers and that type of thing. So confidence is important. You may not check all the boxes that's on a posting for a job. That's okay. Not everybody can check every single box that's on there. But the ones you do check when you head into these interviews, those are the ones that we're going to really talk about. Those are the ones we're going to emphasize because we're confident in those pieces because we've done them before. Make sense? Okay. So again, the 3 C's: courteousness, curiosity, and confidence. Very, very important. As I mentioned, confidence it all comes from inside you, but you got to be able to have the confidence to get out there. Applying for the position in the first place should give you a tremendous amount of confidence. You're putting yourself out there and you're giving yourself an opportunity to gain employment. That should build your confidence right there because it's not easy. It's not easy putting your name out there, but you got to get it out and show confidence while you do it. When you get into the interview, phone interview, whether it's on the phone, whether it's on the internet, via Zoom, or in person, be confident. Another area of confidence that is shown is how you dress. Are you going to go in a pair of ripped jeans and a torn t-shirt? Probably not. Are you going to go in a 3-piece suit? Well, maybe, depending on what kind of a job you're going after. You really want to dress for what it is that you're going into. That also exudes confidence because if you are dressed appropriately heading into an interview, they understand that you understand what it's like to get into the position that you're applying for. So your clothing and how you present yourself is just as important as having a great background. You got to remember, in today's world, it's not just about what have you done or what is your background, but it's also about who you are. And it's the kind of amalgamation of both of those things. That's the type of people that companies are looking for, ones that have experience or are ready to go after education or are just jumping in. Those folks are good too, if they are good people too, showing confidence, showing curiosity, and very courteous while they're at it. I guess this brings us to the question and answer period.
It's funny, in recruitment in our world, we talk a lot about the purple unicorn when we're looking for, the amazing candidates that our clients are looking for. And that could be you right now, unless you just wanted to, match my jumper.
I have no idea why. I even turned my computer off for 3 hours before this meeting. So this wouldn't happen, but it happened anyway.
It happens. No problem. Great info there. I mean, I did write in the chat that you are able to book a session with Lenny, 30 minutes directly, which I think is such a good thing to do because you can really tailor. The advice you gave was quite broad in a sense, but if someone was to set an interview time or a meeting time with you and had an interview coming up, I just think you could help them kill it, with really tailoring. Yeah.
I would like to say yes to that. I hope that I can help. And that at the end of the day, that's why we're here. We're here to help. We're not here to tell you exactly what to do. We're here to be partners with you on your pursuit of a new career. And there's just, as Nicole had mentioned earlier and through the slides, there's a multitude of positions available. Mm-hmm. And this is a great industry that's going to go on forever because last time I checked, everybody's got to eat and drink stuff. Yeah. So it's not going anywhere. It's an important industry. It's moving forward, and it's getting high tech, and it's got a bright future.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the fact that you mentioned job descriptions as well, and that even if you don't check all the boxes, apply it anyway. I work with a lot of students and grads through FoodGrads, and That's one thing that used to come up quite a lot. I hope it doesn't come up, I hope it's been resolved now, because a lot of the time we used to hear how people would only apply if they did check off every box. And as a new grad, you probably won't check off all the boxes, but you need to know that the hiring manager, the organizations, their job descriptions are almost like a wish list. This is everything they'd be looking for. Again, the purple unicorn, that's where that comment comes from. Everything. But that doesn't mean that they won't look at you because you don't have everything. They're looking at the right person. So if you can go into the interview and show how competent your competencies, your ability to do the job, even if you don't have the work experience per se, or check off all the boxes, show that you're competent, you can do the job, and I think you'll still be in with a great chance.
Yeah, 100%. There's no single person that checks off every single box, and if they are, then they're already the CEO of that company, right? Everybody else we have to learn as we move along, which is another great piece, is the ability to want to learn, because you're going to go into an industry or a building that you've not seen any of this stuff. That's fine. Learning on the go is great. And being able to do that while on your feet and on the fly, those are the people that get noticed within manufacturing. The people that are ready and willing to learn and ready to put up their hand and say, listen, I don't understand that. Can you explain that to me again? No problem. They're going to have all day for you. Yeah. So not checking off every box, that's okay.
And this is like timely as well, but I would say that now, certainly since the pandemic as well, a lot more virtual interviews over in person. And I like the point you made about virtual interviews. A lot of the time, a hiring manager will meet via Teams first, and then maybe the next step is the in-person, and so on and so forth. So, and this is perfect. Things happen for a reason. So I always say, when I prep candidates for an interview, check your technology, make sure you're in a quiet place. And it just goes to show that it doesn't matter that you do everything and you account for any kind of scenario that might occur. Things might still happen, but I think it's how you deal with it and your professionalism, and, just being able to roll with the punches. If it's out of your control, that's okay too. You're not going to not be taken to the next step because of something that wasn't your fault, something out of your control. So I think that's important to know too.
No, exactly right. I was working with a gentleman the other day who was just in the process of getting his new work permit. And he said, well, they're going to ask me when I go, because he's heading into an interview. He said, well, they're going to ask me when am I available. I said, well, tell them. He goes, well, I don't want to tell them because then maybe no. This is something that you want to tell them for sure. You want to say, listen, I'm in process of getting my new work permit. I should have it by this such and such a date, give or take. And I said, that's how you answer that question. So sure enough, he goes into the interview and they ask him that very thing. When are you available to start work? And he says, well, and then he said, Lenny told me to say this, so I'm going to say it and see how it goes. So he did. He answered that very thing. He says, I'm just in the process of getting my new work permit. My wife has already gotten hers. I'm waiting on mine. I should be here. And the interviewer said, thank you very much. The previous time we hired for a similar role in our company about a year or so ago, we got to the final stage with this person that we really liked. And then they said, oh, but I don't have a work permit for another 3 months. You did not do that. We didn't waste my time. You didn't waste your time. You've given me the honest answer. And that's okay, because we're still a month or so away from hiring for this position. So that's not going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form. The honesty that you bring with you is everything, right? It's everything. Doesn't matter what it is. Saying a fib or a story that may not be accurate as it comes to an interview process, that's only going to bite you later. Be honest, be truthful, be upfront, have that integrity, because that's what people want. They want people with integrity coming into their buildings.
Yeah, well said. I think you and I could go back and talk about this stuff, but we're almost like preaching to the choir and all this stuff. We could keep going, and I don't think we have any more questions, so we could end it there. But I honestly can't stress enough, even if you're watching this afterwards, book a meeting with Lenny through the CareersNOW.ca website. You will not be disappointed. You will probably end up, getting your next career opportunity. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Lenny, for all your nuggets and words of wisdom. And we look forward to another session coming up for Careers Now. Our next mentorship session is coming up. We have mentorship sessions on different subjects. The next one is on skilled trades, and then the one after that is what to do with your PhD or postgraduate degree. So I can't remember the dates, but go to the Careers Now website and you can see all of that listed there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, folks.